You have until noon this Saturday to release all of the hostages. That is the message that Israelis woke up to this morning. Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Shani Ferguson. And I'm going to tell you what is going on this week with the hostage situation. Things deteriorated significantly in the hopes of seeing more hostages released from Gaza, who've been held there for over 500 days. And the reason is because last Saturday, 3 men were released looking like they had just stepped out of a World War II concentration camp. The response from around the world in seeing how these hostages had suffered, because, when previous hostages had suffered, a lot of people reacted and they're like, look, they look so great. They're smiling, they're waving. And there's these big parades that Hamas has been doing and signing with the Red Cross and shaking hands and giving speeches. And then suddenly these 3 men come who basically barely looked like they could stand on their feet. And the world realized what's really been going on in Gaza. Because with all the humanitarian aid that's been going in and all of the Red Cross so worried about all the Palestinians, apparently nobody bothered to visit the hostages. And nobody bothered to see what conditions they were being held in. One of the hostages, at least one of the hostages, because we're not hearing all the information, they're being given time and privacy. One of them was tied since October 7th, was tied on the ground and not allowed to walk. And they had to relearn how to walk so that they could be paraded in front of everybody and told that they're just fine. Reports from the hospitals when the hostages are released have been that had the hostages that have been released remained in captivity for another week or 2, they would not have been returned alive. And this reality has increased the pressure to get the hostages out now. Now, what happened then, of course, Hamas reacted by doing what they always do, which is to create this chaos and then blame Israel for it. Hamas has broken many of the conditions that were part of this ceasefire, and they were not supposed to be doing these massive parades, making them look like they're some sort of legitimate organization, but they did. And each time Israel said, you know what, we're going to deal with this, but we're going to release our hostages first. So yesterday, Hamas declared, you know what, we're not going to release any more hostages until further notice. That delay and the news that we got from the hostages saying that the men were being systematically starved in tunnels, some of them underground, for 500 days, is likely what triggered Trump to say, you know what, you guys are playing games, you got till Saturday. Make it happen, or as he says, all hell should break loose. And the thing with Trump is that he doesn't so much look at like, I want to be just pro-Israel or I want to be pro-Palestinian. He's thinking individuals and people. And so his idea of turning Gaza into this Middle Eastern Riviera and giving Gazans the opportunity to leave if they want to is actually one of the most brilliant and bold steps that could be given in the Middle East. Because really, what's the other option? We rebuild so that they can destroy again. We're going to be talking about this in the next month's Maoz-Israel report, because this cycle of like, we're going to attack you, and then when you attack us and destroy us, then we're going to get a bunch of money from all the neighboring countries, and we're going to rebuild the same thing that we had before so we can attack you again, is essentially sentencing generation after generation to no life at all. You are a pawn in this story, and you don't get to live a life. You just have to live in this cycle under Hamas, under this brutal terrorist organization. And so the idea of giving them the option to leave and trying to find countries that will take them in is really the only solution to end Hamas's control over an entire group of people. Now, why isn't this as easy as it sounds? Because other countries don't want to take Palestinians in. Why don't they want to take Palestinians in? Because of the culture of death that has been ingrained in them. And so our prayers as believers, as people who really care about humans, should be that those who want to be free, that those who especially the very, very tiny minority of Christians in Gaza who are under threat by Hamas, make no mistake, they're not threatened by the IDF, they are protected by the IDF, but they're under threat by Hamas, and they're terrified. In fact, there's some areas in Gaza that are getting food, and the markets are full, and they're shopping, and there's shoes, and there's vegetables, and the people are saying the only thing that makes us nervous is when there's Hamas people and they come around, and then we're like, oh man, they're going to mess everything up. So just so you understand, there are Gazans who don't want to live under Hamas, and giving them the freedom to leave is very much releasing them from being hostages, just like we want our people to come home and stop being hostages in Gaza. So for those of you looking from the outside and you're trying to figure out what this like extreme level of threats are, like all hell's going to break loose and you guys have till this date, and if you don't do it, we're going to wipe you out. And they're saying, this is so not humanitarian. Negotiations in the Middle East are different, and we call it speaking Arabic. If you speak Arabic, it's not that you're speaking the language, it's that you're speaking the language, the cultural language of the nations here. And coming across, we're like, we just want to help, and we just want you guys to have a beautiful life, and please, be nice, doesn't cut it. And really what Trump is doing is getting the world's attention, and it's getting the Middle East's attention. And the hope is that we really will be able to look back 10 years from now and say, wow, this was the turning point. This is where the people who lived in Gaza received freedom for the first time in decades. Until next time, I'm Shani Ferguson. Shalom from Jerusalem.